We continue from last time, looking some more at comments from a recent African Development Bank event in Kigali, Rwanda. Following comments from former President Obasanjo and Chairperson Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, we now hear from Mo Ibrahim, founder of Mo Ibrahim Foundation, President Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, and Deputy President William Ruto of the Republic of Kenya. We pick it up with remarks from Mo Ibrahim as he stresses the importance of younger leaders who will have the energy to make Africa more competitive.
Half of our people here are below 20 years old. Yes? Look at the average age of our presidents. It's about 63, 64 years old. We're the only continent in the world where we have presidents at 90 years old starting new terms. I mean, you guys are crazy or what? We've seen people in wheelchairs, unable to raise hands to standing for elections. This is a joke. Yes, you are right to laugh because the whole world is laughing at us. I always say, you look around you. You look, United States, an economy of $16 trillion. We, all of Africa, are less than $1 trillion. This is a $16 trillion economy, right? The most important country in the world, like it or not. Obama, who happened to be half African anyway, became president when he's 46, 47 years old. He's president. If Obama was in Kenya, what he will be doing now? He will be driving a bus maybe. Yeah? You look, really, and he's not the youngest president. Clinton was younger than him. Clinton became president at 46 years old. Kennedy was 40 years old, 40 something years old when he became president. Why these big countries, much bigger than us, entrust their economies, their nuclear weapons, their oil resources to people who are in their 40s? And we only pick up people at 90 years old to lead us. To lead us where? Yeah, I think really we need our youth to have the space. We really need to look at our political organizations, our institutions, etc. And we need, this is a young continent, and we need to appreciate that we don't understand the world of those young people. We are out of touch. We have to accept that. The future of those guys who are not going to be there to live it. There's a lot of new challenges facing this new generation, which we have no grip to get to grips with it. And we need to find a way now to bring those younger people more into power. It is the job of us, our current leadership, to try and empower this young generation to bring them in. I can see this happening in some countries. I can see some of the, and interestingly, it is some of the younger presidents in Africa, whom now you go and meet their cabinet, and to see really a lot of young people, a lot of young women sitting there. I mean, that's really refreshing. And so we need to empower and trust this young generation to come forward. They have the energy, they have the know-how, they understand the age. That will help us to move forward.
President Kagame starts off with questioning how it appears Africa had spent too much time with theoretical constructs instead of providing practical solutions. Tracing through the Rwandan experience, he shares his views on how leaders should focus on what is good, and especially on economic development, transformation, and the betterment of the lives of the people they lead.
In actual fact, we've been waiting for more than 50 years already. Here we are discussing this. Because to be able to define the leadership relative to Africa we want, maybe this has been the question even before I was born. And the main effort has been in the theoretical part of leadership. We've talked so much about leadership and what is expected of leadership. We have also had so much time talking about and defining the problems of Africa. What has been lacking is the practical side of it. How do we get to do what we know we ought to so that Africa can get better? This is where the problem lies. And so that requires, therefore, that we simply look at different cases and say, what went wrong here and how can it be corrected? Or how did these things happen here so that we can learn from this and maybe replicate it elsewhere? But the complexity of it is that we have not even been short of lessons to learn from. So there is something fundamentally wrong that I cannot explain. We know the problem. We actually every time discuss solutions. Everybody, if we sat here and they passed pieces of paper around for us to do a test on leadership, we would all get A's. And this has been the case for so long. But what happens when it comes to delivery of what we know we must deliver for our people? What happens is something I can simply not very easily explain. Now, but let me quickly touch on and build on what some other people have said. Issues of age and so on and so forth. Oh, we have seen young people mess up like you've never seen. So it's not an issue of age, much as I would agree with what Mo said to an extent, but not entirely. Because even leaders, whether young or whatever age, you see, all of us grow through a system, something. You see, developing leaders or leaders to develop requires some kind of upbringing. You know, the environment, the things that affect these leaders or affect the people and so on. That's how leaders may emerge. But I'm talking about this just to give you a quick example. In our situation here, you see, Rwanda is a case for a very bad example of failure. It's also a case for some progress, if you will. But if you look at what happened here 20 years ago, the genocide had almost the entire population, but the majority of them being young people. They were led into doing what they did that cost us 1 million lives, young people. But of course, what went wrong was politics and the leaders, irrespective of age. We had leaders here who taught our people that they belong to this one ethnic group. It's the majority. It must be the one with power. And all the others should be excluded, not only excluded, but killed. And you know what happened? For example, just take an example of an ordinary person who has nothing at home, not even a chicken to look after, not a goat, nothing, but he's taught to believe, we say, you are a Hutu, Hutu power. And the guy claps and says, yes, Hutu power. But what do you have in it? Now, what this means, the leaders who were teaching them that, they thrive on that, they play on that, because they have everything in their own hands, even at their expense.
The issue is not so much what the problem is or what the solutions are. So let us conclude our discussion by joining William Ruto, Deputy President of Kenya, as he believes that it is leaders that stand between the problem and the solution.
Let me pick up from where President Kagame left. And he couldn't have put it better by saying that the issue is not so much what the problem is or what the solutions are. The issue is we know the problem, and we have a good account of what the solution could possibly be. Standing between the problem and the solution is a critical entity called leaders, people who need to bridge, to create a bridge between the problem and where we want to go, the present and the Africa that we want. And therefore, for us as a continent, and I have listened carefully to very eminent persons who've spoken here, we have what it takes. We know where we want to go. We know how to get there. Standing between us and where we want to go is decisive, bold, pragmatic decisions that will take leaders to make. Even to move society, assuming that society is part of our challenge, it will take leaders to inspire society, to make sure society sees what the future holds for all of us. And therefore, I am a very proud African, and I am confident. And looking around, and I have been, in the last 1 year or so, I have been to various meetings around this continent. I see a lot of prepared African leaders, people who are prepared to make the critical decisions that will take us to the Africa we want. In the last 1 year, jointly with another 5 countries in the East African region, Rwanda included, we have launched the first ever standard gauge railway out of Mombasa to Kampala, to Kigali, to South Sudan. It has taken us 100 years. The railway we are using was built not last century. It was built the century before. Right? And yet, it is absolutely clear to all of us that by having a standard gauge railway, we can reduce the cost of transport by anything up to 70% and make the products that we produce much more competitive, open up markets for our products, and make sure that we create more integration, create more jobs, and create a prosperous region. That is the kind of decisions that need to be made so that we can take this country, this continent and this region to the next level. And I am confident, very confident, as a young leader in this continent, that we are going to make those decisions.